Hey, Shalom Markins, Rakam Makapashon, Jim Slalin, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem Chakwadash. Want to give double honors unto the elders, the apostles of GMS, and Shalom out there to the hopeful wallet, pushing his truth in all sincerity. Back in another video, and I'm going to call this one At All Costs, right? Because, we got to serve Yahweh Hashem and Shai at all costs, man, and give ourselves and give everything to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, for his word, for his gospel. All right. And it's something important that we have to understand as we draw closer to these last days and the things that are going to be expected of us, right, to be able to do, right, which you have to be in the right mindset, in the right spirit, to even, have a shot of being able to do the right thing when the time comes, right? Because ultimately, it's all going to be down to the spirit of the Heavenly Father, right? Whether or not you're part of His elect or not. But those that are aspiring to be of the elect, man, are going to be in this mind state of having to sacrifice everything, right? To give everything up for Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right. So I just wanted to go through a few precepts, concerning these things. And so I'm going to start here in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. So I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service, right? So we've dedicated our lives as, part of the Lord's first fruits, right? The same way the first fruits, the first the children, the first child, the first son, okay, is dedicated to the Lord to serve the Lord. Okay, we have been picked out, right? Or we be of the elect, we've been picked out as those first fruits of the world, right? To enter into the kingdom. All right. But this comes with great responsibility. It's a great duty that we've been tasked with, right? And so we don't get to live normal lives, right? Other Israelites, that are not the first fruits, right? Just the average Israelite, even in ancient times, they had, a different role to play. They had normal lives, children, worked the farm and did whatever, right? But men, the Lord, that were chosen to serve the Lord, they don't live the same lives as everybody else. All right. And the same is true in this era that we're living in right now. Men, that have been called to serve Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai are different from those that, just live, regular lives, right? They can do things that we can't do, or we don't have time to do. We don't have time to concern ourselves with, certain things that other Israelites do that are not in this truth, because we simply live in different lives, different worlds we're living in. All right, so we're to give our time to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Okay, and yeah, there's things you got to kind of manage at the same time. We're in captivity. We got, some brothers got families and work and all these different things you have to juggle. Okay, but our main focus is upon Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, and on this truth, right? Doing these videos, teaching, going out there on the highways and the hedges, like I said, doing these videos, right? Studying, right? And that all takes up time out of your life that a normal Israelite can do to pursue other things, right? But that's the difference between us and them is, we're more keyed in doing the will of the Lord than they are, right? These other Israelites are men of the world, right? They pursue worldly things. Okay, their focus is not on Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. A lot of our people reject Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, but even among this Hebrew Israelite community, if you want to call it that, right, for lack of better words, right, you got some camps and some groups, right, that are still going after those worldly things. All right, but we, as true men of the Lord, have no real business in them. You got out here, people out here, and not to say, what I'm about to say, not saying, it's wicked if you got a business or whatever, man, but if you're focusing on your business and you're trying to, a person that runs a business properly, right, is giving all to their business to make sure that that it's successful and that it makes money, right? That's a lot of time and energy you have to put into that business, right? So if you're really focusing on that business and you want it to last, you want it to thrive, you want it, to make money for generations to come, wherever you got to put a lot of time and focus and energy into that thing for it to become that, right? Like I said, we don't have the luxury of doing that. Our time and our focus is, it surrounds these scriptures and the brotherhood, things like this. Let's say making money is not wicked. If you're running a business, that's it's not wicked, but as long as you're able to focus and concentrate on the word, okay, that's all good. But I say for the most part, you got to put all your time and energy, your soul into that. Okay, well, this is our business. These scriptures is our business. So it's a sacrifice. We don't, we sacrifice things that we could do for ourselves. We're using our time and our energy for the Lord, right? So again, present your bodies as a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable unto the Most High, which is your reasonable service, right? For all that He have done for us, it's reasonable that we are able to do this, that we are able to sacrifice and not put ourselves first in our lives, right? For the sake of the Lord and everything that He's done for us, especially for His Son, who, shed His blood for us, man. As a sacrificial lamb, to carry our burden, our sins, right? So everything that we're doing is a reasonable service. Especially denying ourselves at this stage, at this point, right, comes with a great reward in the kingdom. But like I said, we have to be able to give up everything, right, that is associated with us, right, in order to serve the Lord, man. Because we're coming into trying times, okay, where all these things are going to be, for lack of a better word, on the table, at risk, of being taken away from us. All right. Verse 2 says, "And be not conformed to this world." Right. And that's the problem. People are being conformed to the world we're living in. And so they put a lot more focus in the world that's here now than the world to come, which is our kingdom ultimately. But people are more focused on the world that is currently, even though this place is going out soon. They're more focused in this place. Okay, that's your focus, your energy, your attention is misplaced. Okay, we're meant to be putting our focus and energy into Yahweh Shem Yahshai in the world to come. Okay? It says, "Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of the Most High." All right? So, ourselves, we are that reasonable sacrifice, man, which, like I said, goes into a time and our energy, in this thing. And potentially our lives, because not all of us are gonna live, right? Some of us are gonna be martyrs for this truth, right? And if that's the lot that comes upon you or comes upon us, man, then so be it. That's what it has to be. But we have to be mentally prepared for that. It's Revelation chapter 12, verse 11. And it says here in Revelation, right? So then they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death, right? We don't love our life here, right? We're not trying to love our life here. Okay, we want things to be better, of course, right? But we understand that's not really going to happen until we get into the kingdom. Because we're always going to be fighting against something in this world. We're always going to be fighting against something. There's demons, despair in this place, right? Something is always going to, the curses are always following us around in this captivity, in this world. Nothing is ever going to be perfect. Okay, that perfection is not going to come until we get into the kingdom. And so we hasten to that day. We want that day to come so fast. Okay, we're not trying to put it off, right? We hate being here, stuck in these fucking dead end jobs and shit, working for Esau. Okay, you're struggling to keep your house afloat. Okay, your family in check and safe and all these different types of things. You got demons surrounding you all day long. Edomites looking at you all day fucking long. Walk down the street. It just, it grinds on the spirit. And then, brothers, like I said, brothers do their best just to get on with shit, man. But it does grind your spirit. It does grind your spirit, man. And we want Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai to come and put all things in order. So yeah, they love not their lives unto death. So I'm not here to love life. Life is not for loving right now. Right? Make the best of it, sure. Can't be all fucked up and depressed all the damn fucking time. You got work to do. Right? So you got to be focused. Right? You got to be focused in the task and the job at hand. Right? And at least that's a distraction from the fucking hell. That you just focus on the mission. And the quicker this is all done, the quicker we can get out of this fuckhole. But yeah, life is not for loving right now. Matthew chapter 6 verse 19 says, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. Right? Because guaranteed, right? Everything you possess, everything we possess in this world, right, is going to disappear. Right? The Lord may have mercy upon you, to save you and your family, but your possessions, your materialistic shit, that's all going. 100%. Right? So yeah, you might have a favorite pair of shoes. I don't know. You might have a car that you like. I don't know. Wherever you got your brothers. Brothers have got things, innit? Brothers have got things. But we have to understand, man. Look, that's all part of the sacrifice. We're gonna have to give all that stuff as a sacrifice. Right? So it's better to have not to have these attachments on the things of this world. Right? And you can even extend it to family, because you don't know for sure what exactly is going to happen, with family members and all that kind of stuff, right? Whether they're gonna, these people might be, may turn on you. Scriptures makes us fully aware of this, that the enemies of his own household, right? So we know that these things are all possibilities, right? People that might bug out on you and shit and betray you and whatever, right? So we have to be mindful of these things, right? And that's just, like I said, that's just all part of what we have to endure, if these things come upon us, man. That's just part of the part of the way, right? We have to walk, right? So all these possessions any possessions that you got, right? Just know they're not coming with you, right? So don't get attached to them, right? So really just be focused on what comes next, or what's going to be next, right? And so you work towards that. You work on that more than anything else, because all this stuff that we have here is just temporary. All right. So lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. Right? Your mind, what you're focused on, what you're thinking on, what you want, what you desire. Right? And what we truly desire is the kingdom. And the things that pertain, that come along with the kingdom. Okay, the righteousness, right? The immortality, right? The treasures, we're gonna receive all these things. Once we're in the kingdom, the power, okay, the recognition, the respect. We're gonna receive all these things in the kingdom, right? The order, right? They're things that even if you wanted to, you couldn't buy it. Even if you could, if you had the money, so you couldn't buy all these things that the Lord is gonna bless us with. As like I said, we would much rather have what the Lord is offering us, right? But you have to believe it. You have to believe that he can give it to you, right? The majority of these people here don't believe in the Lord, right? They don't believe that he's there, that he's capable of doing such a thing. So people only see this world and what Esau has to offer, and so they go the ways of Esau, and they focus on this world. They enter into the rat race, and they're spinning that hamster wheel day in, day out, right? To work for Esau's kingdom, work their ass off into a grave, just so they can earn some, FRNs, some IOUs, some fiat currency. That Esau is about to just pull the plug on that shit anyway. But he's got you. Like, when your mind is on making the money in this world, you've went into the rat race, and you're working. You're a cog in Esau's system. Don't matter if you run your own business or nothing like that. You think you're away or independent from all the shit that's happening. You ain't. You're working part of his system. You're there because he wants you to be there. Until he's ready to pull the plug on you. All these people that got their millions are always self-made men, and everyone can run a business, start their business, and send all these fucking dreams. When Esau flips that switch, and this money becomes nothing, and he starts what they call that, repossessing, or starts possessing your properties, your lands, and all your businesses or whatever, right? Because you can't pay it, you're gonna be reduced to nothing. Back to square one. All these millions and that kind of stuff. You're gonna be reset to zero, right? And you'll be back in the bucket of everybody else with the rest of the crabs. As soon as you thought you can do something in this world, that's when Esau had you. That's when Esau had you, right? I say everyone's running that race in Esau's world to make something of themselves. Well, you're the fools, right? Yeah, we work. We work. We got jobs and shit. Okay, but our mind is like, this is just a means to an end. This don't mean shit. We're not looking for recognition. We're not looking to be rich. Okay, we're just simply getting that daily bread to support ourselves, our families, and the brotherhood. As soon as Esau switches that switch, yeah, we're gonna go to 0 too, but we ain't gonna give a shit. We ain't gonna give a damn, because we know what's up, man. Okay, we're not gonna be bugging out like you people are gonna be bugging out. Like I say, you have to be prepared to give out everything in this world. Okay, and these people are not prepared to do that, right? And like I said, they can only believe in what they see. So when Esau comes in with the MOTB, all these people are gonna take it because they ain't got nothing else, and they don't believe in nothing else. Okay, but Lord willing, not us, because we believe upon Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 16, verse 40. I might start off from 37. It says, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrow shall come upon it on every side. O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to thy battle." Okay, the time of Jacob's trouble, right? "And in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." All right, pilgrims, they travel. They don't stay in any place too long. They don't really have any possessions to speak of. Maybe just a few things on them, but they don't have anything of any worth or anything like that, really, right? They're always on the move, right? "He that selleth, let him be as he that fleeth away, and he that buyeth as one that will lose," right? And so we have to be mindful. We have to have this in our minds. Yeah, we buy things, got cars or whatever, right? Got guitars, whatever, right? We got things in it, but at the end of the day, it has to be to us as one that will lose. These things we will lose. "He that occupieth merchandise as he that have no profit by it." You think you're gonna sell this and sell that? Well, yeah, you might be selling for now, You know, you might have a little business going on. You might be selling certain things and that, but you'll probably get, hey, when the time comes, you're probably gonna be left with a whole bunch of shit that you can't sell. Yeah. So what? You know, wasted money? Yeah, maybe. But does it matter? No. Money don't matter no more. You know, and that product, that stock don't matter no more. Then why? So you ain't gonna worry about making no money off it. It don't matter no more because all this is getting burnt up. All of it. This whole kingdom. You know. So yeah, he that occupieth merchandise as he that have no profit by it, and he that buildeth as if he shall not dwell therein. All right, and so this is why we're not into big projects that span. You know, it's gonna take a few years to do. You're gonna build this place, and what? It's gonna be burnt down. The Lord's gonna burn this whole earth, and what? What was the point? And this is why we don't, we don't rate, like Nathaniel, when they talk about building all these schools and hospitals and whatever the fuck he, thought about building, right? You didn't need it. You didn't need it, right? If our job is to teach this truth, you didn't need that. What we was doing, what we've been doing, has been adequate. But to further glorify Nate and his church or whatever, right? Yeah, he wants to build buildings, he wants the recognition, he wants to do this and do that and make himself more great. We don't need to do none of that. He that occupied merchandise as if he, the building, verse 43, he that soweth as if he should not reap. So also he that planteth the vineyard as he that should not gather the grapes. They that marry as though they should get no children, and they that marry not as the widowers, and therefore they that labor in vain. Ultimately, that's the truth. It's just to get by for the present. It has no long lasting effect. People work to try and, establish things for the future. There is no future in this place. And they would, and this is the thing, all these people that claim they believe in the scriptures or the Bible, and that they would never, ever want to give up the things they've worked so hard to get. And this is only why they put off the day of the Lord. They don't believe the day the Lord is coming. They think they're going to have the opportunity to sit and enjoy the things that they've worked hard for. But this time worse than any, because I said the end is coming, the end is real close, but they wouldn't like to give it up, This is verse 46, for strangers shall reap their fruits and spoil their goods, overthrow their houses and take their children captives, for in captivity and famine shall they get children. And they that occupy their merchandise with robbery, the more they deck their cities, their houses, their positions, and their own persons, the more will I be angry with them for their sin, saith the Lord, right? So I read the point basically, right? So in the latter days, man, we're going to be as pilgrims on the earth, man, with very little to next to nothing, in terms of possessions, right? So we have to, like I said, that's part of the sacrifice. This is Mark chapter 8, verse 35. It says, for whosoever shall save his life shall lose it. But whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. Right? So you're prepared to lose everything. Okay, you only be blessed with everything. Okay, it's the same as the story of Job, right? Job, everything was taken from Job. Job had everything. Right? Job had everything going on for himself. Right? But the Lord took it away from him ultimately. Okay, when you look at it, when you read the story, right? Yeah, Satan did what he did, but the Lord sent him. Right? The Lord took everything away from him. But Job knew what the right thing to do was in those circumstances. It wasn't to turn his back on the Heavenly Father who had blessed him with all these things, right? Because as he said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Right? The same God that can do us good can do us evil also. Right? But because of the loyalty of Job and his integrity, the Lord restored him more than he was at the beginning. But like I said, these stories are here for us to understand. Look, there's a reward for, loss, a recompensation of sorts, right? For serving the Lord into doing righteousness, right? And what Job went through and how he behaved, was righteous. And the Lord rewarded his righteousness, right? And so the Lord will what does it say in the scriptures? Trying to remember the wording of it, man. But there's a reward. There's a reward. If I just type in reward, probably will turn up. Let's see. Let's see what this one says. No, not what I'm looking for. I do know. I have one already concerning the disciples asking, "What shall we receive?" I have that one already here, but the one I'm thinking about, I think, is slightly different. So I'll see if I can see it. Yeah, not that one. I don't see it. If it comes back, if it comes to me, I'll bring it out. But yeah, there's a reward. I'm trying to think what it is. Yeah, but there's a reward, man. Can that award far outweighs anything this world has to offer? All right. I wanted to end with that one. To be fair, yeah. Let me end the lesson with that one, right? But there's a reward, right? So, let me grab this first. Just a couple more. This is James chapter 5, verse 10. It says, "Take my brethren, the prophets, who are spoken in the name of the Lord, for an example of suffering, affliction, and of patience." Right? That's what we have to endure. Right? We have to endure affliction and suffering. Right? Patience equals faith. Right? "Behold, we count them happy which endure. Ye have heard of the patience of Job." Right? So as I was speaking about everything Job went through and how he showed himself, right, to the Lord, to his integrity, right, and how the Lord rewarded him afterwards, right? "And I've seen the end of the Lord, that the Lord is very pitiful and of tender mercy." All right. So these things are examples unto us, man, to know, to put us in the right mindset, in the right mind state, to know what to expect and what the Lord expects from us. This is Matthew chapter 10, verse 37. I'm going to start from verse 6. "A man's foes shall be they of his own household," right? I kind of quoted that earlier. 37 says, "He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me," right? So you're going to have family members come against you, right? And again, that's part of the sacrifice, because this thing that we're part of is going to turn people against us. We're going to lose, materialistic things. We're going to lose families. We're going to lose friends. We're going to, lose damn near everything. Children, we have to be prepared for all of it, right? So he that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, right? And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me, right? And this is not saying you don't love your family, right? But at the same time, these family members, right? They shouldn't be able to turn you away from the Heavenly Father or His Son, right? You have to love the Heavenly Father and the Son more, right? That there's a line that you have to draw, right? That you're not going to follow after them, and that's going to be an important thing, you know, in the hour of temptation, because you're going to have family members, you know, put pressure on, you know, men that are about this truth or aware of this truth, or even because they're not all of the elect. These men that know the scriptures, or supposedly, right, or claim to be Israelites, right? Their family's going to put pressure on them because they're going to be under pressure, right? Because they're going to want to, their faith is going to fail, right? Same way Job's wife was getting at Job, right? Kept telling to curse the Heavenly Father and die, right? Their faith is going to waver so much, right? They're going to put pressure on men that supposedly believe, right, to follow after them, to go and take the MOTB so they can eat, so that they can survive. Because they're going to make you doubt, or try and make you doubt, right? And so that's where you got to say, bro, do what Job did. Curse his own wife out, you know? So you speak as one of the foolish women. You're going to back her up, man. And so I ain't hearing that shit. Now, if you don't want to walk with me, then you can go walk. You can walk. Right? But that's how it's going to have to be. And that's why it says you can't love your mother or your father more. Otherwise, you're not worthy of it, of Yahweh Shai. Right? So he that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. You're not prepared to endure the suffering, to endure the afflictions, to endure this burden. You're not worthy. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life shall find it, for my sake shall find it, because life is with the Lord. Right? So yeah, you know, you might lose all these things on this side. Yeah, your woman might abandon you, you know, your children might abandon you, or whatever the case may be. But the Lord's going to reward your righteousness, man, for doing the right thing. Right? And in the kingdom, you're going to be blessed beyond measure. You know? And so I wanted to end with this, right? It's Matthew chapter 19. And it says here, then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all. Right? They left everything to serve the Lord. You know, they weren't focused on making a career and all this type of business, making a name for themselves and whatever, you know, playing happy families. Like, they didn't have time for that. Right? They gave up everything to serve the Lord, right? To learn Yahweh Shai, right? And to do his ministry. So then answered Peter and said unto him, behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? And Yahweh Shai said unto them, verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And everyone that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. Right? That is the reward for the righteous, for the men of the Lord, for the elect. Okay, those are able to, you know, overcome all these things. Right? But that can only happen with the elect, because only the elect can believe that this is this can be rewarded for the sacrifice. Otherwise, you wouldn't sacrifice it. If you didn't believe there was nothing there, because the same way the disciples here are asking, what shall we have? Why are we doing this? Like, what is the benefit of us following you? We've done all of this, but like, for what? To what end? For what purpose? What reason? Right? And this is what Yahweh Shai told them. So we know there's a reward for those that follow Yahweh Shai, that have faith in him and that follow him and follow his commandments. Right? But again, it's not something that's manifested in this world, right? Not yet. And so you have to believe in something you can't see. And that's hard for most people. You know? And so that's why it's all based on the faith. And the elect have been given that special gift of faith where everybody else lacks, doesn't have it. Right? And that's why they're consumed by the things in this world. Because that's the only thing they can see. And so they trust in it. But like I mentioned, these things of this world is temporary. And all these things are going to be destroyed. You know? But as they being destroyed, we understand we're getting closer to the kingdom of heaven. We're closer to receiving our reward. Because we believe in it. All right. So again, and everyone that have forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first. All right. So this thing is about sacrifice, man, and understanding that we're gonna lose a lot to gain much more. And that's just how things is set up to be. But it is a thing of sacrifice. It's a thing of loss. All right. So I'm gonna end it there. Lord, when it's been edifying, and I'll catch you brothers and sisters on the next video. Until next time, I say shalom.